Hello, YouTube. The glorious revolution is here. Oh, yes, it is. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to basically the second to last episode of the first season of The Legend of Korra, Turning the Tides. So this is basically episode 10. Even though there's 2 episodes to go, those 2 are basically... next week it's a 2-parter for the season finale, so this is really the setup for the endgame. Oh, to joy. They actually... I was a little bit surprised. I was expecting more of a recovery episode, more of the impending doom type episode where they're just really going to set up for the revolution. So they did kind of catch me off guard because I did not see the previews for this episode that the revolution was beginning. At the most, I thought maybe at the end of the episode we'd see like the first few moves, like the beginning strikes of the actual revolution that's been talked about. But lo and behold, we see it, and it was pretty good. I was expecting something on a bit of a grander scale, maybe seeing a little bit more how the revolution kind of explodes. You see the initial moves, almost like you kind of wanted to see this episode somewhat to a degree from the equalist, I don't want to say point of view, but just kind of focus on them, seeing them getting to position, launching the attacks, maybe seeing Amon in his little central command area, just to get a sense of how they did it. I mean, you still do. You get the sense that they just pulled out all the little toys they've been building up, all the little hints. Hey, there's been an underground network of tunnels that they've been using. They built up these mecha, but I can kind of forgive it a little bit. I have a feeling they're saving it, most of this really excitement, really kind of war type setting for the actual finale. Because what we got here was, of course, more from our heroes' perspectives, and for them, it's the revolution has been thrust upon them somewhat unsuspectingly, and rather stupidly in some parts. Again, this is maybe me as more of a political science person who's training in these type of situation, who knows the historical background. So when you see stuff like basically the Equalists take out all of the council except for Tenzin by basically, well, at least they only show the one. We have, obviously, Tarlok's already been taken out. We see the Fire Nation representative, councilwoman. She gets actually just taken out by this couple people, a couple of the lieutenant and another Equalist kind of walk up to the door in their disguise, go, you have an infestation problem. They zap her. There's no guards on our building. She was just going to drive herself to the council meeting. You kind of get a sense it was basically in a massive series of explosions, terrorist activity. She doesn't have protection on her house. There aren't metal bender cops kind of protecting it. I mean, well, then again, this is the city that they just last episode decided to ban being a member of the Equalists. Now they just got around. That's like Obama announcing that, hey, almost a year after we killed Osama bin Laden, by the way, we're going to make it illegal to be a member of Al Qaeda. Yeah, sorry we didn't get to that till now, but right now we've decided these Al Qaeda guys probably should be illegal to be part of their group. Which it is, it's at least in the United States. It is a declared terrorist group, and therefore you cannot be an associate member of. So maybe this council is a little too wacky when it comes to actual anti-terror policies. But then again, we are in a world that kind of gets what terrorism is, and this Avatar verse, it's still kind of a new concept. They're used to state-sponsored terrorism. They're used to armies and stuff invading, not like these type of groups. But we also got to see some more personal side. We got to see the more personal side. Of course, we've got to see Penma's kind of never addressed pregnancy arc, in that she finally had the baby, and I was actually getting ready to make jokes about this being like what's her name from Family Guy, Joe's wife, Bonnie from Family Guy, where she says always going to be pregnant, but she never has the baby. And of course, though, she waits till now, even though it looks like she's been in her third trimester for about 6 months now. Or maybe she just really packed on the... she really decided to get away with the whole "I'm pregnant, I can eat what I want" thing. I don't know. She has the baby, of course, right when the revolution breaks out. Opportune timing. We did get to finally see some certain characters actually get to fight for the first time in this episode. One thing, the White Lotus guys, who I was also about to make a comment, like, have they just forgotten about those guys? Did they send them away? No, we get to see the White Lotus guards in action. Although I do notice that they all turned out to be benders of, fire, water, and earth. But I was expecting at least one or two to be normal, because that was kind of the thing in the first series about the White Lotus, was they'd look for the extraordinary of anybody. So there were plenty of normal non-benders that were part of the White Lotus Society. It would have been nice to show that there was at least one or two guys that were just normal. Maybe were chi blockers themselves. Chi blocking the chi blockers. But not only in addition to Lynn remain, and we get to see her fight, which we'll get into, for those of you that have seen it, don't worry, I'll bring up Lynn, what happens there. We get to see, of course, the kids fight. I always forget their names. Asgard, Airbender children. They actually come and save Lynn, which is nice to finally see them fight. And there's somewhat of a comical line, stay away from my daddy's ex-girlfriend. Good humor from the writers. And it fits with that particular character too. You could see that character saying that. Alright, I guess I'm beating around the bush enough. Major spoiler if you haven't seen this episode, but yes, Landis, the Airbenders are escaping because they are the last. They are still, we still have the last Airbenders. It's his family. They go, the entire airbending is gone. So Lynn kind of realizes. Tenzin kind of flees on his air bison, trying to hook up with the. They actually do it. There are armed forces involved, and I'll talk about that in a second. But she does a self-sacrifice. She flies back onto the two Zeppelins, which, by the way, where did the Equalists get all these Zeppelins? I mean, I could kind of buy it with the one Zeppelin. I could kind of see them hiding one, but man, they've got a fleet. There should have been some sort of indication somewhere else along the line that, hey, they've got like an air base somewhere. Again, maybe that's a problem with it being too centered in Republic City, but alas, so Lynn goes back, destroys the one Zeppelin, but she gets caught in the second one, taken before Amon, and of course she gets her powers taken away, or her bending taken away. It's going to be interesting. If they don't do a cheap cop-out and give everyone their bending back at the end of the season here, it'll be interesting if they keep her character around for the next season and see how she develops, with her losing her bending abilities. Though, of course, you could probably say, she was already getting up there in age. She probably was going to retire, so as a police... Actually, I could even possibly see her coming back as the police chief and go, well, just because she's not a metal bender anymore doesn't mean she can't run the police. We'll see. But, of course, let's go into the big stuff, the setup for the next... We get introduced to finally a new... There's a military. Tenzin gets... Well, actually, let me talk about Tenzin. It is nice that they kind of show that the Airbenders have a big advantage over the Equalists and the Tree Blockers, and even their mecha, in that the Equalists have been able to do a great study of how all the bending works, and so they've been able to figure out all these different countermeasures. But they haven't been prepared for airbending because there's so few of them, and really Tenzin and his family don't go off and show off their airbending. They're just not like that. So it's interesting to see how they're really caught off guard by the airbending. They haven't thought of counters to it, much kind of like how, to a degree, the firebenders were in the last series. They oftentimes didn't know how to handle firebending because it had been dead for 100 years. They didn't know how to counter it. as they were prepared to counter water bending and earth bending. So it is kind of interesting that they incorporate that. And again, maybe it'll show this is how Korra will overcome Amon. She finally unlocks her ability to do airbending while she's fighting Amon. And that's how she beats him, because it's something that she's finally learned and that Amon has not been prepared to take on. Might be interesting. We'll see how it goes. But yes, before the Equalists, rather kind of smartly, this is like what I'm talking about. I wish they had prepped and shown this. They flood the police station with gas while they're launching their main attack. And you can kind of see, I guess, why they decided they wanted to take out the council, in that because Tenzin survived, he was able to make a request to an actual military force to come in and come to the rescue. And we see that military force at the end of the episode, which is a group of, appears to be Fire Nation ships. Now, again, he called them United Forces, so whether this is kind of a, maybe afterwards, is it just for the United Republic? Or is the United Forces really kind of a coalition military, and the Fire Nation kind of takes the lead? Because it's being led by a General Iroh, who I am assuming is Zuko's grandson. For multiple reasons. One, it would make sense. People have a tendency of naming, in these type of TV shows, my uncle. I will, of course, name have one of my grandsons named after you. I mean, look at if you look in the official canon, Aang's other sons are, one of them's Boomy. Also, I could swear that Dante Basco did the voice for that, and it doesn't say, he doesn't credit him for this episode, but it does give him credit for Skeletons in the Closet. This says voice on his IMDb page, but I'm assuming it's going to be this guy. So I don't know why Donnie Bosco's back, who did the voice of Zuko in Last Airbender. And I guess he is doing General Iroh now in this episode. I don't know why he in particular is back. We haven't seen any other cast, or at least that I know of, from the old episode, or from the old series. It could just be that he's a lot closer. It could just be that when they were writing a character, and obviously this is later in the season, they go, hey, it'd be kind of cool, this minor character right here who's supposed to be Zuko's grandson, why don't we have Donnie do it? Or Dante do it, I should say. I called him Donnie Bosco. Be interesting to know the background on that. But speaking of the next episode, we have Skeletons in the Closet, and then Endgame. As I've said before, Endgame, kind of obvious. My guess is Skeletons in the Closet is going to be mostly the prep for Korra and her crew. It's going to be living in, or seeing this oppressive environment of kind of seeing Amon enacting what his kind of government would be. We'll probably see very Stalinistic, fascist overtone type things going on. We'll probably build up an impression about the oppression that's now occurring in the city. Probably them trying to run around, have people hide them, and all that fun stuff. I would also imagine Skeletons in the Closet going to be Asami and, I was about to say Bolin. Foolish of me. Asami and Mako's relationship, because that is really starting to come to a head where Asami's kind of calling out Mako for, you have a thing for Korra, don't you? So I guess I guarantee you we're going to see that come to a head in the next episode, and that might be the Skeletons in the Closet. It might also have multiple meanings. Of course, meanings that we see we might literally have the Avatar team hiding in a closet in one episode. Might also be something to do with the impending counterattack. If there's something else going on with them. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they made a point of introducing this General Iroh character. We'll see how he plays. He might be part of this. Skeletons in the Closet. Might he be part of... he wants to reignite the war and have the Fire Nation reclaim this whole, these territories. So maybe he has been secretly the one that started funding the entire revolution. Maybe it turns out he was the firebender that scarred everyone else. Amon's face and killed his parent or his wife or whatever the story was. That would be kind of. I don't want that to happen. It would be nice to show that the good guys in this season are actually the firebenders. It would fit thematically, the show going, it's all about balance. Once show's underlying theme is there's balance, so it'd be nice. First series, firebenders bad. This season, firebenders are the good guys. But I guarantee you, Skeleton Squad is going to be all that about the oppression in Republic City and probably them planning the counterattack. And endgame is going to be the actual counterattack, them trying to retake the city. And of course, the final showdown between Amon and Korra, which I'm guessing Korra is going to finally go full-fledged Avatar. We'll see. Be more interesting then to see how they set up then for the next series or next season, but that is for next week's video. Stay tuned. It might be a little delayed like this one was, only because I had to work during the day, including this morning, so I did not get a chance to watch it. I had to watch it online. Luckily, I found a more reliable site, Nickelodeon's site, which I do try to support the official, release stuff. But come on, put it up as soon as this episode comes out. I mean, okay, granted, it's not at the West Coast time yet, but when I got home, it was like 8 o'clock. It's been the morning in the West Coast already. But that's alright, I found a website that updates it a lot quicker. I'm not going to say the name of the website because I don't want it shut down. And who knows who might listen to this stuff. But I found a website that reliably puts this stuff up pretty much as soon as it goes on TV. So I should have it up later Saturday. Just like this one. Signing off for now, guys. Catch you next week when we have the season finale.